The Temple Mount is the site of the first and second Jewish temples, but for hundreds of years it's been occupied by Muslim shrines. The Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Golden Dome of the Rock now sit on the site, but some Jewish people want to build a third Jewish temple.
Over the years, there's been a long-standing debate as to whether the third temple would and should be built or not. Well, it appears the Jews are resilient and in high belief of the temple and the significance it holds to them. It'll interest you to know that the opposition didn't stop the Jews from rebuilding the third temple, and a while ago, a ceremony was held in celebration of it. Of what significance is the third temple to the Jews? And how long did it take them to rebuild it? Sit tight as we look into all there is to know about the third temple and the role it plays in the fulfillment of the biblical prophecies. Before we delve into the crux of the matter, let's take a brief look at the first and second temple and what happened to them. Starting with the first temple. A long time ago, the Israelites had a sacred object called the Ark of the Covenant. This sacred object was carried to different places of worship, but eventually it found its home in Jerusalem under King David's rule. At Jerusalem, King David chose a hill called Mount Moriah, which we now call the Temple Mount, as the place to build a special temple. He had plans to erect a temple of worship there, but unfortunately, he could not. When it was time, his son King Solomon built the first temple in 957 BCE. The temple faced east and had 3 rooms: the entrance, the main religious room, and the Holy of Holies. The Holy of Holies was the holiest place in the temple, and only the high priest could enter it only once a year on a day set aside for atonement. The temple remained in good condition until something catastrophic happened. In 587/586 BCE, the temple was destroyed by the Babylonians under King Nebuchadnezzar II when an attack against Jerusalem was unleashed. The Jewish people were taken away to Babylon as prisoners. This was a tough time for them. They, however, believed it was foretold in their religious texts, so it strengthened their faith and hope for a new independent Jewish state. Luck shined on the people of Israel again when, surprisingly, the Persian ruler Cyrus II, who conquered Babylon, issued a decree in 538 BCE that allowed the Jewish people to return to Jerusalem and rebuild their temple. To the appeal of the Jews and other worshippers, the Second Temple was built between 516 BCE and 70 CE. Though it wasn't as grand as the first one and didn't have some of the important objects like the Ark of the Covenant, it remained a vital place for their religious practices, with well-organized priests and Levites. As the years passed, the temple faced both good and bad times. During the Persian and Hellenistic periods, it received support from foreign rulers. But there were also some harsh times, like when Antiochus IV Epiphanes desecrated the temple in 167 BCE, leading to the Hasmonean Revolt and the celebration of Hanukkah. During the Roman conquest, the temple faced some troubles as well. Roman general Pompey entered the Holy of Holies but didn't destroy the temple. However, in 54 BCE, another Roman general named Crassus plundered the temple's treasury. It was during the reign of Herod the Great, the king of Judea, that the temple saw some significant changes. Starting in 20 BCE, it took 46 years to reconstruct the Temple Mount, making it larger and more magnificent. After renovation, it was called the Herod's Temple. The temple area became a gathering place, and merchants set up shops there. Certain areas were strictly reserved for Jews only, and the temple became the center of Jewish life. Fascinating, isn't it? Sadly, the existence of the Second Temple was brought to an abrupt end in an ugly turn of events. The temple met its tragic end during a rebellion between the Jewish and Rome. Despite the destruction, there was a part of the temple's retaining wall that remained standing. That wall is now known as the Western Wall. It became a symbol of hope and connection for the Jewish people. It was a place where they could pray and feel close to their history and heritage. Through the years, the Western Wall has seen many changes, and it's been part of various religious structures. Today, it stands as a powerful reminder of the Jewish people's past and a place of deep spirituality. People from all over the world come to visit, touch the ancient stones and connect with the history that lives within those walls. These temples were not just magnificent structures, but a symbolism of ancient Israel's identity and religion. The first temple served as a place of assembly and worship, while the second temple served as a center for worship. The destruction of these temples shocked the entire of Israel, particularly the Jews. Now that we're familiar with the history of the temples in Israel, a sneak peek into the significance of the third temple to different faiths would be a good idea, so let's go. Let's begin with the sole custodians of the temple, the Jews. The third temple is adored and revered by the Jews, especially those of the Orthodox traditions. The Jews believe the temple is a sanctuary for worship and sacrifices, and also the essence of the Messianic age. They also believe the reconstruction is essential in the fulfillment of biblical prophecies. To the Christians, the third temple signifies hope and confirms the second coming of Jesus. The Christians, just like the Jews, also believe the reconstruction of the temple is important in the fulfillment of the prophecies of the end time. Then there's the Messianic Jews, who believe the third temple is a representation of the sacred dwelling place of the divine presence, according to the prophecies in the Bible. In the grand scheme of things, the significance of the third temple transcends religious belief. Its reconstruction also has some political impacts on Jerusalem. Any endeavor to rebuild the third temple would undoubtedly face opposition, challenges, and navigate through intricate political landscapes. Let's look into the things that were required in the rebuilding of the third temple. In the first and second temples, animal sacrifice played a huge role in worship. It's believed that this practice will be reinstated in the third temple. However, this notion sparks ethical and moral concerns, as the idea of sacrificing animals raises questions about animal rights and the treatment of living creatures. This has led to opposition from animal rights activists and some religious groups who firmly reject the idea of animal sacrifice in modern times. Surprisingly, the controversial issue of animal sacrifice is not exclusive to the Jewish faith. In the Santeria religion, which also practices animal sacrifice, legal challenges have arisen in the United States. However, the Supreme Court ruled that animal sacrifice is protected under the First Amendment, igniting further debate around this sensitive topic. One peculiar requirement for the reopening of the Third Temple is the use of a red heifer. This unique female cow must have never been used for work or breeding and possesses specific physical characteristics. The ashes of this red heifer are crucial for the purification process, which is necessary before the temple service can commence. This requirement has sparked attention and controversy, as finding a suitable red heifer meeting all these criteria is an exceptionally rare occurrence. In fact, this specific purification ritual has not been performed for centuries, adding to the awe and mystery surrounding the Third Temple. Beyond the red heifer, there's uncertainty about the use of other animals in the Third Temple. Some believe that only certain types of animals can be used for sacrifice, while others argue that any kosher animal is acceptable. Deciphering the specific details of animal usage in the Third Temple would likely follow the guidelines and traditions outlined in religious texts and teachings. The controversy surrounding the use of animals in the Third Temple is a reflection of the broader discussion on striking a balance between tradition and modern virtues. It also highlights the significance of religious interpretations in shaping this contentious issue. As debates continue, it's clear that the reopening of the Third Temple holds immense cultural and religious significance for the Jewish people, with diverse perspectives driving the conversation forward. The journey towards the reopening of the Third Temple is laden with complexity and deeply rooted in history and faith. As this captivating story unfolds, the fate of animal sacrifice in the temple remains a powerful symbol of the challenges and controversies the Jewish community faces in preserving their traditions while grappling with evolving ethical considerations. The future of the Third Temple is yet to be written, and the debates surrounding its practices and rituals continue to captivate and inspire all who seek to understand and appreciate its profound significance. What are the controversies that surrounded the rebuilding of the Third Temple? There are controversies as regards where the Third Temple is built. This revered site holds great religious significance for Muslims, being the third holiest place in Israel and the largest park in East Jerusalem. Attempts to rebuild the Third Temple have faced opposition and challenges due to the delicate political balance in that region. Religious interpretations also play a crucial role in the controversies surrounding the Third Temple. Within Judaism, there are varying views on the necessity and significance of rebuilding the temple. Some believe it to be of utmost importance, while others await the arrival of the Messiah before taking such a monumental leap. The diverse interpretations of religious texts and the differing understandings of the requirements and timing for the temple's rebuilding create an ongoing debate among Jewish groups and scholars. The issue of access and rights to the Temple Mount is another source of tension and controversy. Jewish groups advocating for the rebuilding of the temple seek increased access and the right to pray on the mount. This demand has gained momentum among some individuals and organizations, further complicating the already sensitive situation. Balancing the interests and sensitivities of different religious groups and political considerations becomes a delicate dance in addressing these demands. Amidst the discussions and efforts to rebuild the temple, certain groups and individuals advocating for this cause have faced criticism and marginalization. The Temple Institute and the Temple Mount Faithful are examples of such groups that have been labeled as radical or on the fringes of mainstream Jewish society. Their ambitious goals, including the replacement of the Dome of the Rock with a new Jewish Holy Temple, have drawn opposition and controversy. The location of the Third Temple is yet another hotly debated subject. While some argue for its rightful place on the Temple Mount, others propose alternative locations, such as the City of David, based on archaeological findings and interpretations. These location claims have significant implications and raise questions about the potential impact on existing structures, notably the Dome of the Rock. In the midst of these controversies and challenges, the Jewish people successfully built the temple. The journey was a complex one, with emotions running high and diverse perspectives at play. The Jewish people are faced with navigating a delicate and intricate path, one that requires careful consideration, empathy, and open dialogue to forge a way forward toward their shared aspirations. Amidst all of these controversies, the Third Temple was finally built in 3 days. For many years, many groups both from the Christians and Jewish community have made preparations ahead of the reconstruction of the temple. Lots of Jews were trained for many years as priests ahead of this period. For years, research was made on the particular kind of apparel needed to be used in the temple. Finally, those apparels were purchased all the way from India and stored ahead of the opening of the Third Temple. The Temple Institute and the Temples Mounted and Eretz Yisrael Faithful movement advocated for the construction of the Third Temple on the Temple Mount, where the former 2 temples were situated. As it stands, that is where the Third Temple was finally erected. A dedicated organization called the Temple Institute is on a mission to rebuild the Third Temple, and they are doing something extraordinary. They've created amazing furnishings, instruments, and vessels for the future temple's worship. These items are not just ordinary, they're made of pure gold, silver, copper, and other authentic materials. It's like stepping into a treasure trove of ancient beauty and craftsmanship. To make sure everything's perfect, the Institute had done thorough research into the original temple's designs and practices, as required in the Torah and the Talmud. They studied ancient coins and artifacts from the Second Temple era in order to create a true masterpiece for the Third Temple. According to Ezekiel, the temple should be 3,000 by 3,000 cubit large. This measurement is what was used in the rebuilding of the Third Temple. It'll interest you to know that another group called the Temple Mount Faithful also played a crucial role in preparing for the Third Temple. They prepared cornerstones for the new temple using diamond cutting tools instead of ordinary steel. Talk about dedication and precision. And you know what's truly fascinating? The construction of the temple altar took an extraordinary approach. Uncut stones collected from the mystical and enchanting Dead Sea will be used. But why uncut stones, you may wonder? Though the ancient requirements for building materials did not include metals, the metals will be used in the Third Temple to peace and the Messianic era in general. Looking at the preparation process for the rebuilding of the Third Temple, you can't help but be amazed by the passion and devotion these groups poured into making the prophecy a reality. It's like witnessing a real-life adventure that merges history, faith, and craftsmanship into a remarkable tale. The next time you hear about the Temple Institute and the Temple Mount Faithful, remember that they are not just ordinary organizations. They are dreamers and builders who committed their all to reviving a glorious piece of history and culture. Their dedication to creating something authentic and true to the past is a testament to the tireless beauty of human ingenuity and the unbreakable bond between faith and tradition. The final rebuilding of the Third Temple is surely a dream come true for them. Rebuilding the Third Temple was a come-true dream for both the Christians and Jews of Jerusalem, as they saw it as a prerequisite for the fulfillment of the biblical prophecies. In that light, both the Christian and Jewish community contributed immensely to making it a reality. Though challenges and confrontations were faced by the Jews, they deterred them, and in 3 days they erected the magnificent sanctuary at the Temple Mount. Let's sit and watch things unfold now that the Third Temple has finally been erected.